Statement of support for the Guard and Reserve. We recognize the Guard and Reserve are essential to the strength of our nation and the well-being of our communities. In the highest American tradition, the patriotic men and women of the Guard and Reserve serve voluntarily. That word, ladies and gentlemen, is very important. They serve voluntarily in an honorable and vital profession. They train to respond to their community and their country in time of need. They deserve the support of every segment of our society. If these volunteer forces are to continue to serve our nation, increased public understanding is required of the central role of the Guard and the Reserve in preserving our national security.
Tom Bullock is the Chief of Employer Outreach at Employer Support of the Guard and Reserve, or ESGR. He's recognized as an expert on marketing initiatives to help members of the military reserves find meaningful careers. Tom is a decorated Air Force veteran, and he joins us here in Washington, D.C. Thanks for being with us.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
Can you tell us about the ESGR and what branches of the military it serves?
I sure can. Employer Support of the Guard and Reserve was founded in 1972. Our mission is to provide education and information to the employers of National Guardsmen and Reservists. We serve all of the 7 SEALs, which are all of the 7 branches of the Reserve Forces.
And we know that the Guard and Reserve are increasingly called upon. Can you explain some of the ways in which they're utilized?
Right now, there's about 23,000 National Guardsmen and Reservists that have been mobilized. Since 9/11, over 900,000 of our American citizens have been mobilized in the War on Terror and also on the conflicts in Afghanistan and Iraq.
And how do you go about contacting employers on behalf of the Guard and Reserve?
We have over 4,600 volunteers. We have outreach directors in every state to where we reach out to chambers of commerce, to Rotary clubs, to anywhere there are employers.
How can employers demonstrate their support for employees who are members of the Guard and Reserve?
ESGR has a statement of support program that employers can sign that demonstrates publicly their support for their employees who serve in the National Guard and Reserve. Employers of any size can participate in the program. During this Veterans Day holiday, we signed General Motors, Caesars Entertainment, Amgen Corporation, and many other Fortune 500 companies.
What does that statement of support entail?
Well, it entails that they will comply with the Uniformed Services Employment and Reemployment Rights Act, USERRA. They will have the tools necessary to manage their employees who serve in the National Guard and Reserve. They will appreciate the values that members of the Guard and Reserve bring, and they will look for opportunities to hire more guardsmen, reservists, transitioning service members, and veterans. And lastly, they will support their military families in peace, in crisis, and in war.
What's your relationship to SHRM?
Well, this has been a wonderful relationship. In 2010, the current president at the time, Lon O'Neill, I took him on what's known as an ESGR boss lift. That's where we take civilians on military aircraft to refuel airplanes. We had a wonderful conversation during that time, and after he agreed to sign a statement of support, which he did at the legislative conference that year, and then what he did is he challenged all 596 chapters at the time to also sign a statement of support. It took us 2 years, but all chapters and state councils signed a statement of support. And SHRM was recognized by the White House joining forces when that milestone was met.
And can you tell me about your military experience?
I graduated from high school in 1966. I served 4 years in the United States Air Force. I served in Alaska, Cheyenne, Wyoming, and I was there almost 2 years in Vietnam.
So what was your transition like coming back to civilian life?
It's certainly not what it is today. It's hard to talk about it, but when we came home, most of us went as individuals and came home as individuals. Now with the National Guard, when we take National Guard units, whole communities to war, then you have a whole outpouring of support.
So why is your role as Chief Outreach Officer important to you?
So I want to make sure that young men and women who are serving in the United States military don't have to suffer what we Vietnam veterans suffered when we came home. These fine young Americans are volunteers. They sacrificed their lives, and some of them literally sacrificed their lives in the defense of our country. And I have the opportunity and honor to go out to corporate America and help them understand their employees who are serving are a true asset to their corporation or to their business, because they bring fabulous, fabulous strengths to their jobs. And more importantly, you'll never find a more dedicated group of individuals than you'll find members in the Guard and the Reserve in the United States military.
So what advice also would you give members of the Guard and Reserve looking to find a meaningful career?
Well, there are many outlets right now. I ask that they work through our employment specialists that we have at ESGR under our Hero to Hired program. They're in every state in the nation. We also attend job fairs, hiring fairs of different chambers of commerce and other organizations.
How can employers participate in the Statement of Support program?
We have state committees in every state in the nation and also the territories. They can go on our website at www.esgr.mil. More importantly, they can call me, because I'll tell you why. I'm challenging every employer in the United States of America to sign a statement of support. My phone number is 571-372-0709. If you want to sign a statement of support, call Tom.
Tom Bullock, thanks so much for joining us on Hiring America.
My pleasure.